Crazy alert. I warned you. Okay.
Title's insane.
Mm-hmm.
This is the reason why I hate biological men, and you should too. If you don't know who I am, my name is Blossom. I use they, them pronouns. And it's not because I hate men. That's not what we're talking about right now. There's no such thing as biological men. That's not a real thing. That is a transphobic dog whistle. What it's doing is it's trying to justify transphobia using science when, first of all, man is a term associated with gender and not with sex. But even if we were talking about males, sex is also a spectrum. So if you ever hear somebody say biological men or biological males or any language like that, call them out, run away, educate them, do something. It's not it.
Okay, honey. Blossom, you're a biological man. I don't know how to tell you, right? Okay, you can dress up as whatever you want. I don't care, Blossom, but you are a biological man. These are just scientific terms. This is not me saying I like Blossom or I don't. For all I know, Blossom could be lovely, right? Maybe we could be great friends. I don't know what your likes are, your dislikes. I don't know anything about you. But the fact of being a biological man or a biological woman is grounded in science. That's all. It's grounded in science. It's grounded in your, sex organs. It's grounded in anatomy. Okay, this is not subjective stuff. There are two sexes, male, female, right? There's not like a whole spectrum of all sorts of options. And I know you use they, them, whatever. I don't know, But we're now just, again, there was a time where it was live and let live, right? And I am one who used to say, just do whatever you want. I don't care what you want to identify. It's your life. It's not mine. Then it became that somebody else had to acknowledge your false reality. So if you decided you were an elephant, somebody else had to call you an elephant and stroke your trunk, right? Okay? No, that got a little weird for me. Like, well, why does somebody else have to acknowledge some alternate reality that you live in your head? That's weird. Now we're at a point where it's like, oh no, biological men don't exist. Biological women don't exist. That's all a farce, which is completely and utterly false. Not grounded in any science, not grounded in any reality. We're now entering a world where the subjective is going to be elevated over what's real. Just ask yourself, I know I always say the slippery slope's getting a little slippery, but where does this fall? Where does this end, right? Does this end with 755 genders? Does this end with words not having value? Where does it end if you can no longer objectively just say, this is true? This is true, and maybe you don't like it, and maybe you want to change your reality and what you live every day, and maybe you want to have an operation, and maybe you want to take hormones. Okay, you're an adult. You can make those decisions, but it doesn't change the truth, which is that you were born this, and now you're trying to change into this. That's what's happening. That is what's happening. So people out there, when you talk about these things, you don't have to be insensitive to people, but now it's like, before it was like, well, you're insensitive because you're yelling at me. You want me marginalized. You don't want me to be able to work. You want me to be, relegated to a free corner of society. That's different, right? No one's saying that. But what people are saying that, and, maybe there were a few people who, whatever. But vast majority of people are just saying, this is just the truth. So I'm just going to keep saying there's biological men, there's biological women. And now somehow if that offends somebody, it's off the table. You can't say facts. You can't talk about sex chromosomes. This is getting sick. This is getting sick. And by the way, the sickness is growing on TikTok almost exclusively. I cannot tell you the amount of brainwashing I see. It's sick that these young kids go and listen to, and then suddenly they're in this warped reality that's not real. And then you have a lot of celebrities in Hollywood that are brain dead to begin with, right? And they're all like, oh my God, maybe that's true. I mean, you saw that. Did you see that video of Dylan Mulvaney, who, by the way, does not appear well? I'm sorry, but Dylan Mulvaney is now dressing as a little girl and like little girl costumes. Anyway, did you see the clip where she was with Drew Barrymore and they were sitting on the floor, and something just mentally unwell is going on in a world where we can no longer just acknowledge factual reality. That's all I'm saying. This is not a conversation about what grown adults should do with their lives or their bodies. That is not up to me. That is up to you. This is a conversation about our inability to just acknowledge the truth. Not your truth, not Delhi's truth, the truth. The truth, which is that there are biological men and there are biological women. The end. Okay. Now, two last topics we have on this. Interesting. So we talk a lot about women's sports and the death of women's sports. And by the way, women's sports are dying. It's very, very sad what's going on. Very sad. And people say, oh, it's just a couple of cases here and that. You come talk to me in 10 years and you watch what's happening, because I'm seeing more and more and more of it. And by the way, if we are not grounded in facts anymore, what's going to happen? Let's not be dumb. Okay. I see this article that from the New York Post, and it says male powerlifter enters women's event and breaks record. Check this out. A bearded pro powerlifter entered a women's competition in Canada and smashed a record held by a trans lifter who was watching. So this is the best story because the top 1 spot is held by a man and the top 2 spot is held by a man, a trans woman. So also a man. And the second man is upset at the first man. This is just batshit. Okay. So Avi Silverberg, the head coach for the Team Canada powerlifting for more than 10 years, entered Saturday's Heroes Classic tournament in Alberta after identifying as a female. And he did this to prove a point, obviously. Identifies as a female, says, I'm going to be a female. I'm going to just enter. Video shared by athlete activist groups, the Independent Council on Women's Sports, shows him walking up to the platform, fully bearded and wearing a regular men's that little outfit they wear. He casually, notice the word casually, bench pressed nearly 370 pounds, beating the current Alberta women's record by almost 100 pounds. Look at him. 100 pounds. That record, by the way, the person he beats, who came in second at 275, was held by trans athlete Ann Andres, who was seen watching Silverberg. So the second one is by a man who transitioned into a woman and took the hormones and had the surgery, but was still a man. Do you see the sickness that's going on here? Now look at this guy. Okay, look at the size of this guy. This guy bench presses people my size for just, this is my, this is my warm up, Look at him. Can you imagine? I'm a woman and he goes in and what is wrong with society? Canada, by the way, beyond. We started the show talking about Canada. What a sick place that's turning into. Okay, so now what happens is, you won't believe the way the article goes. I couldn't believe it. The trans woman who's second gets mad at the guy and comes out and posts a series of lengthy videos, by the way, calling him a coward, calling him a bigot, saying that, maybe my participation isn't necessarily fair. There's science, whatever, but at least I transitioned. I transitioned for almost 20 years, so I am entitled to be here. That guy isn't, because he's trying to prove a point. So now you've got a biological male being attacked by another biological male who decided to become a woman because that trans woman is mad that the biological male who didn't take the hormones and didn't get the surgery beat the record that Kishi had, whatever.
Exactly what it is.
I mean, what type of crazy is going on? And the woman says, the trans woman says, I got surgery. I can prove without any doubt whatsoever that I've gone through every step, which means whatever governing body decides to make decisions, I will pass the test. I actually care about women in sports because I am a woman in the sport. Okay, you know what? Where do you even go from here? Where do you even go from here? I don't even know what to say. Listen, you can't have men in women's sports. This is really getting sick. And I understand if you're a trans woman and you take the hormones, I understand there is some testosterone depletion. I understand there is a difference between a regular biological man and then the trans woman who then gets the surgery, takes the hormones. There's a difference there, right? In terms of hormones, all of that. If you can acknowledge that, you can also acknowledge that there's a difference between that trans woman and an actual woman. I mean, it's infuriating to see this stuff. Can you imagine?
I think they did a South Park episode on this.
South Park, I know. And South Park doesn't care. South Park did it. Oh, you know what? South Park did a great Andrew Tate thing, but I can't play it because we'll get copyright. But, look. Look. Look at it, though. And we laugh, but look at the crazy. Look at the crazy. And you know what you often see, too? That reminds me, the podium. Ever see like the biological man in the middle that looks like an absolute giant? And then you see these two little women that are like holding up their second and third place trophy. I mean, it's just what is going on in the world? Where do we go? If you like the short clip and want to watch the full episode, click here. And if you want to connect with me one-on-one on Connect, you're going to click right here. Let's get to talking.